So basically the presentation is on Markdown. Okay. So basically Markdown is it's a writing language that's very lightweight and easy to read. Basically it's used for people who want to be able to write for the web, but may not have any HTML training, but it also can be used for almost any type of writing. I have found that it's been very useful for me in the last few years that I've been using it, because it allows me to type more efficiently. And I'll demonstrate what I mean by that as we move along. So Markdown was created in 2004 by John Gerber and Aaron Swartz contributed to the writing of this. And again, John Gerber's whole idea for creating Markdown was to create a platform that people could write for the web without being programmers or developers, and be able to create web content without needing to know how to do HTML and web languages. So what is Markdown? Markdown is a very lightweight formatting text for creating documentation for either your personal use or for the web. It is very versatile in creating all types of documentations, plain text, rich text, or HTML. One of the main attractions for Markdown is its simplicity. As we go through, you'll see that you can actually create detailed documentation with very simple commands. Readability. This is one of the great things about Markdown is you can create content that can actually be converted for the web or for your documentation, but in its raw form, it is still very readable, meaning that I could take a Markdown document, give it to someone, and they can definitely be able to read it in the raw Markdown language. Efficiency. Okay, the one thing I really love about Markdown is I can do my formatting on the fly, meaning that I can start typing my documentations, but my hands never need to leave the keyboard for me to create my formatting as I go, which again, for those of you that write a lot, it sounds silly, but that one sweep up with the mouse just so that you can bold a section of text, it kind of breaks your flow of writing. This way you can do your formatting as you write, not breaking that flow at all. Flexibility. So in its essence, Markdown is just text. And because it's just text, it can be converted into multiple formats after you're finished. Again, it's very versatile for creating HTML, but it also can convert it to rich text, Word document, or create a PDF right from the Markdown language. Community and tools. Again, Aaron created this program 2004 so that he could create a language that was easy for people to use who might not be programmers or web developers. Because of this, Markdown has grown online as a very usable format for people to collaborate on documentation. And a lot of companies have created tools of varying different types of uses, formats, and for different operating systems for Markdown. Again, I will go over a bunch of that as we move along. So Markdown basics. Basically, Markdown is going to be a way of us writing documentation using very simple symbols in order to create our formatting. Now, for today's demonstration, I'm going to use a website called Dillinger, and that's at dillinger.io. So if you wanted to follow along, you could pull that up. Now, when you pull Dillinger up, you're going to see a bunch of text on the left-hand panel. Just highlight that and delete it out, and then you can follow along. Other than that, then I'm just going to move forward. And the first thing we're going to go over is we're going to go over headers, line breaks, bold, italic, and lists. But we might want to know what keyboard keys that we need to use in order to do these. Hashtags. So everyone knows the hashtags, and asterisks. So those are going to be the key things we're going to use on these first examples. So this is Dillinger.io. Basically, it's a Markdown typing platform. So I can type in Markdown on the left panel, but then I can preview it as rich text on the right panel. So as we type our syntax or formatting, you can see the results very clearly in that right panel. So the first thing I want to go over is headers. You know, basically when you're writing your document, you're going to have that your title header. And how do we do that in Markdown? Basically, it's super simple, hashtags. And the number of hashtags will delineate or determine the size of your header. So if I use one hashtag space and type header, that's going to be my header in the largest size. Two hashtags, header is the next size down. Three hashtags, space, header. Again, we're going to have that bold header size. So basically you could have your larger header, your subheaders, and even subheaders as you type in your document. And again, we're using this simple hashtag space, and then it determines the formatting. Again, I can't emphasize enough. Remember, my hands never left the keyboard to either create these different font sizes. All right, so the next thing I want to go over is line breaks. Line breaks are simple. It's 3 dashes, and that's going to create your line break. Super simple. That way you have your line break in your documentation, just 3 dashes, and you're done. The next thing is bold. So if I'm typing my body of my text, if I am typing the body of my text and I want to bold, I'm going to put 2 hashtags on the section that I want to bold at the start. This is the section of my document that I want to bold. And then I'm going to close it off by 2 hashtags after. And if you notice on the panel on the left, now I have bold. I bolded my text just by adding those 2 hashtags on each side of the sections that I want bolded. Again, my hands never left the keyboard. I can continue typing. Again, I don't know how many documents that you type, but sometimes when you're typing and you're in the flow of things, that break of just reaching up to the mouse to change that formatting can kind of disturb your thought processes. And this is a good way to stay on track and just keep typing. Now, the second section is italicize. So if I want to italicize a section, so this is my second paragraph, and this is the section, and then do a single asterisk that I want to italicize my document. This is now. So as you can see, just a single asterisk on the sections that I want to italicize creates that italicize in my document. Okay, now for this beginning section, the last thing I want to show you is lists. Now, if you're creating lists, that's super simple, and there's 2 ways of doing that. You can either use the italic asterisk and type asterisk space and go item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and so on. Or you can use a dash and a space. Dash, item 1, item 2, 3, 3. And if you want to use numbered lists, just type the first number 1 plus space, and then item 1, item 2, item 3. Okay, so easy way to do your list. Again, you don't have to go up to the ribbon on Word to set the list settings. You just keep typing. Now, we've done this little demonstration, but the one thing I want to show you now is if you go over to the preview window And this symbol right here is for HTML. If you hit this symbol, it will now show you what you've just typed in HTML coding. I use this all the time. And part of that is a lot of us have someone in the office who's taking care of our websites, but we have pages that have information about, our section of our department or our business, and we'd like to have that updated occasionally. Well, I can tell you right now, if I hand my person in my office whose, job it is to update the text of my website in plain text, it's going to be a while till I see that update. If I send him this what my changes on my web page in HTML, it's going to do a lot sooner because it's already done for him. He just has to copy and paste that in and update my website. This is a great tool for plain text writing using these symbols to create HTML. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just get rid of this and this. Again, I'm just deleting these out so we can go on to our next section. Then, all right, so the next thing I want to go over is block quotes, checklists, links, and images. Okay, so again, we've already covered these keys, but in this section, we're going to also use the greater than key and the bracket keys, the lower bracket keys. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with block quotes. How do you do a block quote? Well, again, you're going to use the greater than symbol. So greater than symbol, and then you start typing. This is the quote I want to use for my document, and I want it to stand out from the other sections of this document. See, and now if you notice here, it's all in this emphasize in italicized, and it has the block quote line. So again, really easy to do, just that one symbol. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do block quotes in Word, you have to go up, find that section, then attribute it to whatever you've already written, and it's just a little more difficult. This is super easy to do. All right, so the next thing I want to cover is checklists. So checklists are pretty easy to do. Just we're going to use the brackets, space, space, item, and there's checklist. Okay, bracket, space, space after that, and then this is going to be task 1, and bracket, space, space, task 2, and so forth. And then if you want to do this and show finished items, you can go bracket X space finished item. And then you see that's checkbooks. Now, if you go over here, you can find out that these are actually active. If you're using this on a website, you can make these actually active so that you can go back and check them off later on. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how do you add links to your documents. Now, if you're doing a PDF that has active links in it that you want to send someone, what you would do is you would use your brackets, put it in, put the website name in. Let's say we're going to go CE Train, right? And then after that, you put parentheses and the website address, train.isu.edu. Okay, so if you notice on our panel here, you have the link just as a word. Again, if you're putting this in a website or you are going to put it in an active PDF, this would be a way of adding that active link into it. Another demonstration is, say, we got YouTube. And, I did a lecture on ChatGPT a while ago. So let's share that, copy that, bring that back over to Dillinger. Oh, I put the wrong. I want brackets. Bracket, YouTube, and then parentheses, And then see how I put parentheses and then it gave me the end one. So I'm already in the middle. So I can just Control V and paste what I've already got. And now again, added that active link into our document. So again, an easy way to add it to a PDF, active PDF, or into a web page. Okay, so the next thing is images. Now, to add an image to say a web page or a PDF, you're going to need to have an image that has an associated URL. Whenever you add images to a web page, it has to be something that has an associated URL. So it has to be an image that's been uploaded and you actually have an address to embed. So to tell Markdown that this is an image, we're going to put an exclamation point first, then our bracket. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the alternate description in. For every image that you add to a web page, you have to have an alternate description in case the image breaks. They know what's supposed to be there. So, this is going to be, this is a picture of a moose. Okay, and then I'm going to go to a web page that I already have here. I'm going to go up top. I'm going to copy the address for this image, go back to Dillinger, put the parentheses in. Again, it already closes it in, so I just have to paste this in, Control V, and then I've added my image to my document. Okay, again, I could PDF this out, or if I'm creating a web page, if I go here, I can see the coding for that web page now. So again, if you have all this information, you can actually create these web pages, write this up in Markdown and hand this to someone in your office who does the web pages, and they've already got everything set up for them. They just have to paste it in and go, oh, I've done all that work for you already. So let's go back to preview. Let me delete this out, and we're going to go on to the next section. Codes and tables. So I'm not a coder. I have to say that up front. So I'm basically using code that I found, but it will, I can demonstrate how you write code in Markdown. And for this, we're going to use this key right here, which the lower casing of this key, I know the upper casing is the tilde. I never knew the name of this lowercase. It's called a grave accent. And I never knew that until I started doing research for this presentation. So the grave accent, and then over here, we're going to be using what's called the shift, the uppercase of this is called the vertical pipe, or sometimes just known as the pipe. And then, of course, we're going to use the forward slash, and we're going to use the upper, what they call brace or curly brackets. Okay, so we're going to be using that for this, all these for this demo. Okay, so again, what we're going to do first is we're going to try the code. So when you're writing code in Markdown, the first thing you need to do is go up and use that grave accent. You're going to do 3. And what you're telling it is what code you're using. So basically what language you're writing in. So that's going to be JavaScript. Okay, return. And if you notice, now we have this coding window pop up. Okay, so now we're going to start with our code. It's first thing we're going to do is function foo, parentheses, and then we're going to put space, and then our curly bracket or our brace, and return. Now, if you notice, once we put our curly bracket or brace in, it added the second bracket at the bottom here. Basically, this tells it, hey, we're going to start writing code, and this is where our code's going to end. All right, so next thing we're going to do is our commands. I don't know if anyone ever learned basic. I did it when I was a kid, so I kind of know what this does. A equals 5 semicolon. Basically, that's a line of code. Basically, that's one line, and then we're going to do like B equal 7. Again, the semicolon lets it know that's a line, and then return A plus B semicolon. Again, another return, and that would be the end of our code. So to tell it that we're finished, we're going to go 3 more grave accents after that, and then we can tell it what kind of code it is or what kind of command. So this is going to be another grave accent. Oops. And then less than inline code, and then greater than, and then a grave accent. And that's code. So again, this is pretty versatile. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll create a document in GitHub, which is a basically a code writing platform that's collaborative, and they will do their programming in Markdown and share their sheets or their GitHub page with other collaborators so that they can work on code together. And again, this makes it very versatile. But again, if we go up and do the preview, we've written that code, and now that code's available in HTML to be embedded on a web page. Okay, so let's go back to, and then we're going to get rid of this. All right. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do tables. Now, when I'm talking tables, I'm not talking Excel. That's not the type of tables we're doing here. We're doing simple tables to add to your document. So the simple table we're going to do is, let's title it first. Actually, let's put in a header. Tables. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our columns, and we're going to use the vertical pipe for that. Remember that vertical pipe is just above the return key. I'm going to shift vertical pipe, and I'm going to put my header name, my column header name, dog's name, vertical pipe, again, because we're separating columns. And then we're going to put dog's age, vertical pipe to close it up. Now let's put in our info. So we're going to put a vertical pipe, Snickers, vertical pipe, and Snickers 2. And we're going to close that up. And again, it doesn't matter that they don't align. Okay. And then we're going to go vertical pipe, Prudence, vertical pipe, and Prudence is 8. Okay. So we've got our titles and we've got our information that we want for our tables, but that certainly doesn't look like a table, does it? So what we need to do is we need to add the command line or the formatting line. So just below the header, we're going to add a vertical pipe. We're going to add a colon and just some lines. Doesn't even matter how many lines. And then vertical pipe, colon, some lines, these are dashes, and vertical pipe. Now, if you notice, we do now have a table. So we have a table that we put into our document using Markdown. And again, the key thing, I know I keep harping on this, is this is ready to give to someone to put into a web page. Okay, let's go back to the preview. And because the one thing is like going, you know, it's kind of obvious, hey, the vertical pipes are for columns. And obviously you're creating a column when you, in your format command, and you have your information with the vertical pipes, but what's the colons for? Okay, the colons, okay, if I take the colons out, and I put them at the end now, notice now they're to the right. So if I put my colon to the left, it will do left margin. If I do the colon to the right, it will align it to the right. If I put a colon on each side, it's going to center. So again, you can create this and have it HTML ready to give to whoever is doing your web pages. Again, and you don't have to be a programmer. this is, again, I do this all the time when I want to update my program, but I also use Markdown for a lot of other things. So this is kind of the demo. Again, the demo goes pretty quick because these are a handful of commands that can help you create your documents and use the formatting that you need to have whatever output you want it to look like. So let me go back to my presentation. So basically, what is the advantage of Markdown? Well, the advantage of Markdown is it's a universal application. What does that mean? That means that you don't need any special software to do it. I mean, because it's all just those format commands that you do in a line of text. You know, if bold, you just use the two asterisks. If you want italicized, you use the single asterisk. So basically, it can be almost anything that you write in. File portability. Again, these are just text files, simple text files that you can, doesn't take a lot of room. You can basically email them to people. You can post them on a web page pretty easily. Free to use. Again, we go back to that, hey, I don't have to buy special software. I can do this in anything that I want to write in. So you can do it in almost any type of writing program. Alternate to document software. Again, we can create that formatting for rich text without use of, say, Word. So basically, you can write it out, know exactly what it should look like, and have that output ready to go. Easy website creation. We already went over that. You type into it, and it's an easy conversion to HTML. Easy syncing option. I talked about GitHub, how someone can create a Markdown document in GitHub, share that document with other people, and they can work on it together using those simple formatting commands. And converting content. That's really one of the most powerful things about Markdown, is converting it to the output that you want. Now, some tool recommendations. Now, we've been using Dillinger, which is a free online Markdown program. Basically, let's go back to that just for a second so I can highlight some of the things that you can do with it. So here we are in Dillinger again, which is a free Markdown writing program. From here, we can export as an HTML, styled HTML, or as a Markdown file. Now, we'll go over why you would want a Markdown file, or write straight to a PDF, keeping that rich text look. So there's different ways of actually getting this out from once you've finished it in Dillinger. And then you could actually save it directly to one of your linked online saving locations. Like you can connect to OneDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox. And again, GitHub is a very popular one for people who work on documents. So easy to actually get out of your Dillinger into another. And then you can actually import from these things as well. So if you start off with say, writing out in a different program, you can actually bring it into Dillinger so that you can export it as HTML or as a PDF. Okay, but that's only one. That's only one. Okay. So other programs, and I use this one almost exclusively, is Craft. And I'll tell you why I use Craft. Craft is great because you type in your Markdown, but then it converts to rich text on the fly. So basically, if I'm writing a document, and I'm, say, in a meeting and I'm doing notes and I'm doing my formatting on the fly, it will convert it to look like rich text as I type, meaning that I'll put my two asterisks in, do my wording that I want bolded, put the last two, and it will get rid of the code, the appearance of the code as I type, and just leave the formatting left behind. So I do enjoy Craft. Also, Craft is great because it actually will let me export as a Word document once I'm done typing that document in. So it's great. The one thing that it's lacking is the ability to export as HTML. But for that, I have Draft. Now, Draft is a Mac exclusive program. So Draft allows you to write in Markdown format, but it also has it's only for Mac, but it has an array of ways of exporting out to different formats. Like almost any format you can think of, you can export out of Draft. But again, it's exclusively a Mac program. Another one is Visual Studio. Microsoft Visual Studio, which a lot of people think of as just a coding program, you can actually install what they call extensions into it. And you can install a Markdown extension into Visual Studio, but you can also install, and we'll cover that later, an extension that allows you to convert to almost any format. So Visual Studio, it's a little wonky to learn, but once you do, it's a powerful tool for just writing out your text and then exporting it in whatever format you need. Now, the other ones on this list are also common Markdown writers that will support Markdown, but also support other formats as well. A lot of these have paid pricing or subscriptions. Again, Markdown's great. It's a powerful writing method, but it's kind of a thing where you find, hey, what works for me? What type of platform do I have? What kind of writing do I do? Which leads me to, one tool that I can recommend is any text editor. So any text editor, in Windows, you have a plain text editor. Let me put up edit, text edit. So in my Mac, I can just pull up my text editor, and then I have just a plain text editor, and I just have to put the formatting in as I type that I know is, will accepted by Markdown, and then I can just export that into any format that I want. And let me go back to the good converting program is called Pandoc. Pandoc will convert from any format to any format. So if you want a PDF, an HTML, or Word document, you can use Pandoc to take your Markdown document and convert it. The only issue with Pandoc is it's a terminal-based program. What that means is you pull up a terminal in Windows or Mac and you type in commands, but the commands are pretty easy to learn. Pandoc has a great support page, but again, if you just had a text editor and Pandoc, you could create any document you want for free. Pandoc doesn't have a charge, and your text editor comes with Windows or Mac. Okay, again, that converting, this is where Markdown shines, is converting it to what you need. I need a PDF that I can share with people. I want a Word document, or I want HTML. Just convert it, and it will go from any. So again, we've all had that time where we, wrote something in a Word document and it's stuck in that Word document format, and you go, it won't remember the way I've laid it out when I share it in this other program. So Markdown is a way of getting it out for other formats that you need. So some examples of use, project, document, and software development. We already talked about GitHub. That's where you can create a project development, software development, have that coding, share that GitHub page, and everyone can be working on that using Markdown, which again, one of the things that really is, people don't understand Markdown is you can read Markdown as Markdown. It's not a foreign language. It's not some sort of special. It's, that the two asterisks on each side of a certain amount of text is bold. The one asterisk is italicized. So if you just have Markdown in front of you, you can read it and go, oh, I know exactly what this says. It's very readable, and people can work on it together. And it's not hard. I mean, we went over all the commands in what, less than 10 minutes? It's super easy to learn. So I use this for my stuff all the time. Again, will it take a change in mindset? Yes, it's going to take a change in mindset. But I think that someone who invests the time and learns it is going to have that ability to, get those documents out quicker, because again, you just concentrate on writing. I use Markdown all the time. I used it on my grant audit when I was writing documents. It saves me a ton of time, because then I can just concentrate on what I'm writing. I don't have to worry about formatting, as I write and go up, and it's much easier this way. So Academic research and note-taking. Same thing with project development. You can basically use this, Markdown is kind of like a very, very, very light version of LaTeX, which is a scientific formatting style. Similar, but different. It's much more in depth. Basically LaTeX has been kind of used for scientific papers and so forth, whereas Markdown is writing format for everybody. And then note taking. I told you I go when I take my notes at meetings and stuff, I have Craft in front of me. I start typing. I use my Markdown formatting, and it changes to rich text on the fly in Craft. And so I love using that. And then communication and reporting. Someone who's working in an office and they're writing up a document, and that document has to go to different people for different functions. This is great. Because say you're a marketing person in your office and you need to write copy, and you need to write it so that you have to give it to your boss who just wants it in rich text. You have to give it to your web developer who wants it in HTML, or you just want to pass out a PDF to other people in the office. You write one document, you export it, the 3 different methods that you want, and then you're done. So it's not rewriting. You write the one thing and then you just export it for the different formats you need for the different team members that you're working with. Again, it does take some learning. It does take some a change in mindset, but I believe that it's well worth it once you start utilizing it. So best practices and tips, like, okay, Paul, this is great. What do I do? How do I get started? Well, start simple. That's my biggest thing is, maybe use Dillinger and start playing with it on small documents that you're not really concerned about. So just to get your brain wrapped around it, and then start maybe working towards using it in heavier projects. Maybe start with, Dillinger's free, start using that, and maybe start thinking, oh, well, maybe I should start thinking about a paid program to start having more of those easier convertibilities. Again, choose the right tool. If you're a Windows user, you may choose different tools to use. If you're a Mac user, you may use different tools to use, or maybe you're going to use a combination of tools. Again, I'm a Mac user, but Craft is available for Windows and Mac, but it's like 10 documents a month for free. And then if you want to do more documents, that's a paid subscription. You could do Dillinger and just do free. Or if you're a Mac user, Drafts is great because it has so many export options on it. But again, that I pay for a subscription for that. But again, these are things that save me time in my daily work because I have to share documents a lot with people in my team. Organize and structure. Basically, go back to that start simple. Start using it on some documents that are lighter so that you can practice using that organizational structure. Hey, oh, this is how we use a header. Oh, I want to use a line break here. Okay, I want to use the list here, and start figuring out how you organize and structure a document using Markdown. Conversion and compatibility. We already kind of talked about this quite a bit. The greatest thing about Markdown is its ability to convert to other formats. Once you have it written down and once you want to have it outputted as other formats for other team members or other people, that's the key. And compatibility. Again, you could write this in just your text editor on your computer, because it's so compatible. Practice and experiment. Again, go back to that. Just keep working on it, keep digging on it. Hey, you know what? I have some extra time. Let me start doing a document using Markdown on this one and see how I have some time. This isn't so just practice and play with it. Continuous learning. You're going to start out very simple, going, okay, I do bold here and bold here. Oh, what if I tried this and what if I tried that? Just keep playing with it. That's how I started. I started with very simple, going, I just need to write this and then have a header and go, oh, what if I just did this? Embrace the flexibility. Again, that's the key thing about this. is the flexibility of writing on the fly and having it outputted to any type of format that you want. Okay, then I'll give you another little tip. So does anyone use ChatGPT who's on today? Anybody? Oh, yes. So when you use ChatGPT, let me show you a little trick in ChatGPT. So we're going to go back to the web page. And I'm going to go move that over here. So I'm going to go and open up my ChatGPT account. Okay. And I'm going to take one of my, okay. So it sounds like a lot of people use ChatGPT on this website, on this webinar. So here's ChatGPT, you asking it a question, it outputs, and then at the bottom, you have the little clipboard symbol. And has anyone ever noticed that little clipboard symbol? No. So the clipboard symbol will basically copy the last conversation because it separates by each section into your clipboard. Okay. Now let me pull up Word. Yeah, I know. Pull up Word. And Words. Oh, there we go. A blank document. Okay. So I pulled up Word. We've got our clipboard ChatGPT in our clipboard now. So I'm going to Control V. What do you see here? You see two asterisks. And this one probably wasn't a great one, but it outputs your text as Markdown. So ChatGPT, when you copy your text from ChatGPT using the clipboard, it copies it as Markdown. So I don't know about you, but you might have, hey, I wrote an email, I copied the clipboard, then I put it in my email program, and now it's got all these asterisks in it. What is that all about? Because it's in Markdown. So what you want to do maybe in the future is, copy it from the clipboard, then you're going to convert it from Markdown into rich text so that you can put it in your email. Now, here's the thing with Mac users. And again, do we have any Mac users? No? Mac users is actual shortcut. A shortcut is a small program that is available on a Mac that basically shortcuts certain processes. In Mac, you can find a shortcut to convert Markdown into rich text or Word formatting. So when I'm writing something, it's just 2 clicks and it will format to rich text for me that I can paste in any document or email. Again, if I didn't have that, then I probably would use Draft, pluck this into Draft, and then tell it to copy that into rich text. And then that would save me some time. But again, there's lots of conversion programs out there for everybody. In fact, there's websites out there. Again, you just put a Markdown conversion in Google, and you'll see a bunch of websites that you just drop in your Markdown, and it will convert for you and on the fly. So again, the biggest takeaway is the fact that these are really lightweight, easy to learn commands while you're typing that then you have the ability to convert to different formats. And if you're doing anything HTML that you have to rely on someone else because I got to write that in HTML, this is a great way of shortcutting that process, handing your team member the already existing HTML and going, here you go. Because I can tell you right now, I've got this person in my office. If I hand him HTML, he'll get that done in a day because I've already handed him the code. I think that's it, Martin. I hope everyone has gotten some value out of this today. Oh, wait, let me go back to Dillinger. Let me go back to Dillinger. Just 1 sec. Let me go back to Dillinger, and we're going to do a big giant header. And my email address, let's go preview. my email address. Let's brush this up. My email address is vicky@isu.edu. And if you have any follow-up questions, you might be going, hey, you didn't cover this, Paul. It was a really lousy presentation, or it's something that comes up. You're welcome about the information on ChatGPT. If you have anything that you can think of later on, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'm very enthusiastic about this subject. I'm kind of like, speaking the gospel here, that I kind of wanted people to know that this is a way of writing, and possibly, hopefully, have it help you during your regular workday every day. Oh, wait, and use e-commerce, web development, or product description. Can you give an example of when Markdown is used in e-commerce, web development, or product? Well, I think that's pretty easy. I mean, because what you're doing is you're doing HTML, you're doing Markdown to create HTML. So e-commerce is any page that you want to create. So if you're writing anything on your web page, product development, product description, anything, again, you can write that in using the commands that I gave you, create the links from existing links, and I showed you how to add those links into your page. Basically, basically header, awesome widget, your description. So basically, this is a great product, blah, 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 blah. And then, put in the link where to buy. Buy, parentheses, buy.com. Okay. And this is a super simple overview. But then if you go over here, you got the code. And again, we also showed how to embed a picture. Once you have put a picture where you can get a URL of it, you could add a picture of that product pretty easily. So right here is a really easy way of creating the text for a web page. Now, as far as styles, that's usually the style of your web page is usually done through CSS coding by your web developer. So basically, we're talking about providing just the text for your web developer. Hey, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I know it's spring break and it's such a lovely day. You could have been doing something else during your lunch, and I really appreciate you being here. Martin, thank you for having me.